Well, good evening, everybody. How are we feeling tonight? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I was laughing because I was talking to my friends here on the front row, and I said, it's so nice to see all of you just sitting tonight. Right? Because normally you're in the corrals, or you're running by us at the start or the finish line, but it's great to have you here tonight. And by the way, happy Halloween. I love seeing all the Forrest Gumps, by the way. There's like 2 or 3 in the room. One with a real beard, too, which is also impressive. I get that occasionally when I run. But on behalf of our entire New York Roadrunner family, I'm Stephen Allen Wilson. It's a pleasure to welcome you here to the TCS New York City Marathon Pavilion, presented by Mastercard. And this is our very first Marathon Member Monday in-person event since 2019. So thank you all for being here tonight. Crazy, right? We lost a couple of years there, so I'm glad we can all come back together. Something that you'll hear us say quite often at NYRR is that our members, all of you, are really the heart and soul of what makes our community so special. So being able to come together tonight to celebrate with you, other events throughout the year, it really just warms all of our hearts. I promise you when I say that. Also, one of my favorite parts of being an NYRR member is that 9+1 program. Some of you are familiar with that, right? So usually late spring, depending on how quick you achieve that result, or early summer, you start hearing that bell. How many folks tonight are running the TCS New York City Marathon this Sunday because of the 9+1 program? Let me see some hands. Very nice. I've been there with you many a time, so I'm right there. Also, a big shout out, lots of love to our friends tuning in virtually tonight on Facebook Live. So let's make a little noise. We'll turn around. We'll give them a little wave. From our living room to wherever you may be this evening. And none of us know, so hopefully it's somewhere fun. Although my friends in the front are drinking Michelob Ultra like it's a private oasis for them. So it all works out. But tonight's a wonderful night. It's a nice chance to come together. We have an exciting evening lined up for you. And I'll tell you, just on a personal note, I discovered running much later in life. I've been a proud NYRR member since 2015. I joined the events team in 2018, the announcing team in 2019. I will say on a personal note, whether I'm lining up with you in a corral and we're sharing the roadways together, or I get to welcome you in at the finish or send you off at the start, folks often ask me, Stephen, what do you prefer? Do you prefer one of the other? And I always say it's kind of like asking me about my favorite niece or nephew. I'm not going to tell you. Maybe I have a favorite, but you're never going to know. But the bottom line is, there's something so special about our running community here in New York City. And it's definitely something very, very special about all of you, our members here at NYRR. So personally, thank you for always making my heart smile. Thank you for inspiring me. And I can't wait to see you out there on Sunday, because I know we have a lot of folks running that little 26.2, the big dance, as we call it, on Sunday, right? How many folks are running this Sunday? TCS New York City Marathon. Yes. I have some more questions about that later, but here's the deal. Marathon week is pretty exciting. There's an energy, there's an electricity in the air. And as we move closer to Marathon Sunday, which is by far the best Sunday of the year in New York City, that energy just grows. But I want to elevate it here a little bit tonight at the TCS New York City Marathon Pavilion presented by Mastercard. I want to bring a little bit more energy, a little bit more love, and I want to inspire you a little bit. So check this out. All right, I think it just went up a notch. Does anybody else, when you run a marathon, does anybody else ugly cry at some point during a race? You do, right? And it's usually not from pain, it's just from like emotion. I'm watching this, I'm like getting a tear in my eye tonight, so thanks for starting my week off. We're already gonna get to the ugly cry, and it's not even Sunday yet. But we have an exciting evening lined up for you tonight. No tricks. There were some treats in your seats, which I see a few of you have already devoured and enjoyed. We also have a nice little parting gift for you tonight, a little NYRR pint glass, which use it however you wish this week, but I would encourage you to put a lot of water in it this week. At least until Sunday afternoon, and then the world is, hey, whatever you want to do with it at that point. But hydration, as I'm sure our two coaches will talk about a little bit tonight. We have an incredible panel discussion lined up this evening. Coach Roberto Manje is here. He's going to lead a panel discussion with just some fantastic individuals and athletes. I've been very excited about this panel for weeks now, so I can't wait to sit back and enjoy it with all of you. And then we'll bring up Coach Steve Muir. Steve is going to go through some race strategy with us, make sure we understand exactly what we're getting ourselves into from Staten Island all the way back here to Tavern on the Green in Central Park on Sunday. Our NYRR Pace team is here tonight as well. They're in the back of the room. They'll be here all evening. Yeah, big hand for our NYRR Pace team. I'm going to tell you, this is not in the script anywhere, but they are the best in the business, hands down. And if you're ever looking to achieve a goal, if you have a goal of hitting a certain time or pushing yourself a little bit, lock in with one of our pace groups. They will bring you in under every single time, and you will have an absolute blast in the process. So they'll be here tonight to answer any questions you might have as well. And then other than that, it's about celebrating. It's about celebrating with each other tonight, coming together again, our first full-scale in-person event since 2019. So a great way to kick off the week, great way to spend some time together. And with that being said, I'm going to introduce the gentleman who will be hosting that panel discussion tonight. Now, in his bio, he said he's a retired Olympian. That's his words. My words are, he's an Olympian. One does not retire from being an Olympian. Once an Olympian, always an Olympian. He's also, yes, absolutely. He's also a lifelong runner, and running really has taken him throughout the world. So different cultures, different training philosophies. I know for a fact he speaks multiple languages. We might draw that out of him at some point this evening as well. But when you think about inspiring folks through running, when you think about that kind of infectious energy, he embodies all of that. He makes you a better person. He inspires you. He pushes you forward a little bit. And tonight we get the benefit of listening to his expertise while he talks to this incredible panel. He's been with NYRR for 6 years. He's the head of training and coaching education. Please welcome a man some of you all know, but some of you will be meeting for the first time, Coach Roberto Manje. Coach Roberto. Oh, hold on. Let's starting guard. I have to embarrass Roberto. I promised him I would do this. Starting guard. At 6'2" in those cool New Balance shoes. From the University of North Carolina, Roberto Manje.
All right, wow. What an intro. I can't really see that well out there, but good evening, everybody. Thank you, Stephen. I should hire you just to walk around with me. Yeah, this is really, really exciting to be here. 6 years here, and every year the marathon makes me feel like a kid on Christmas, if you will. So super excited. We have a great panelist today that I'll introduce shortly. And I was actually thinking, I obviously have a script, so I won't go off script too much. Don't worry, whoever's out there, I can't see that well. But yeah, I was thinking like last year after the pandemic, which hit each of us differently, was almost felt like the first date, returning to the marathon, 30,000 people, which is still a very big marathon on the world stage. And then I was thinking this year, we're back. We're not doing as many virtual events. We're so happy to be here in person. So thanks again for all of you to come out here. And so I was like, okay, so last year was the first date. We got through that. This year, this feels like the engagement. Like we're doing it. We've all said yes. You're here. So give yourself a round of applause. Yeah, it's Monday. We're a few days out. So again, thank you. But again, we're not here for my stand-up comedic jokes or Stephen giving me my, be my hype man. We're here to hear from our members and our runners in our community. We also have an awesome pro that will be joining us shortly. So it's really great. We like to say that running meets you where you are, and these 4 panelists are fantastic. Once upon a time, they were where you are now, getting ready for maybe their first marathon. Some of them, as you'll hear shortly, have inspired members of the running club to run their first marathon this upcoming Sunday. So really, really happy to be here. I wish I could see all of you. I had no idea the lights were going to be like this, but I assume you're still there. If I hear crickets, I'm just talking to an empty room. But so yeah, joining us today remotely from Arizona is one of our pros this year, Stephanie Bruce. She'll be joining us on the TV shortly. So we could give her applause. But Oh, there he is, Stephanie. All right. So Stephanie is a 3-time U.S. national champion and one of the most popular athletes in our sport. She's got a rabid fan base that follows her for what she's calling her grit finale, aka her last year of professional running. She's run the TCS NYC Marathon several times with 2 top 10 finishes and a personal best of 2:27:47. That's not standing around, you know. You need rollerblades for that. Stephanie began running at the age of 4 and battled through celiac disease. Since being diagnosed in 2010, which has made her a personal role model and inspirational for runners everywhere. Stephanie, as I mentioned, lives in Flagstaff, Arizona, with her husband. Shout out to Ben Bruce and their wonderful 2 kids. Thanks for joining us, Stephanie.
Thanks for having me, Robert, and hey to everyone out there.
All right. Up next is Elvin Adames. He's a 7-time marathoner as well as a co-founder and current president of the Dyckman Run Club. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, you can come up already. Sit over there. Elvin completed his first marathon in 2018 and achieved earlier this year a personal best at the London Marathon. Shout out to Elvin. He's dedicated to motivating and inspiring his community. As you can see, Elvin has brought his people here, so thank you for joining us, Elvin. All right. Keeping up with the Run Club, we have next Shayne. He's the head coach of Team We Run Kings, affectionately known as TeamWRK. Shout out TeamWRK. You'll see the hoodie soon. He's a local competitive athlete who earlier this year set an amazing personal best at the Paris Marathon in 2:51. All right, yeah, come on, join us. He's trained over 500 runners. I believe he said he's got 25 runners running with us this Sunday. A few first-time marathoners, so welcome. And last but not least, I believe you're out here. Yeah, there you are. Linda. She's a 12-time marathoner and co-founder of the AgoNY of Defeat Run Club. She's been a New York Roadrunners member since 2004. Yeah, welcome to the stage. And she's looking forward to running her 13th marathon this year. All right. So, yeah, welcome, everybody. As you can see, we have an array of runners from across the city, obviously out in Flagstaff, and like I said, runners who have been exactly where you are for those first-time marathoners out there. So I'm going to throw out a few questions. I'm going to go from Steph, left to right, right to left, and let's get this going. So let us know. Tell us about your first marathon, Steph, and for those running for the first time, what advice would you give them?
Sure. So my first marathon was actually right out of college, and I ran Twin Cities. And for me, I had run the 10K in college, and we were like, I wonder if I'd be good at the marathon. So we kind of were just, you could say, testing the waters. And I ended up running 2:40 with splits of 1:20, I think 06, 1:20:03. So I think that kind of told us, okay, maybe the marathon is definitely my distance. The even splitting was very telling for my career. And so I guess if I could give advice for people running their first marathon, even splitting is the best way to do it. So the way that works is, I'm sure you've been training for weeks and months and you have a pretty good idea of pace. Stick to that pace. It's really easy to say, oh, my friend, they're running 10 to 12 seconds faster a mile, but really just try to stick to the pace that you've been training at. And then honestly, have a good time. Realize how much work that you've put in. And it's very rare to be someone who completes a marathon. And so the fact that you guys are all lining up and trying to do that, next Sunday, I think you need to be really proud of the journey you took to get there. And yeah, be sure to smile when it gets painful and look for that finish line.
All right, thank you. Elvin, same question to you.
Hello. Yeah, so my very first marathon was the New York City Marathon in 2018, and it changed my life. Growing up in a community that was infamous for violence, for nightclubs, for drugs, I was numb to everything. Running a marathon gave me purpose. It made me feel human. And now we try to provide the same feeling with Dyckman Run Club. Marathon running really changed my life. And every single year, I get the bug. I just want to do it. I want to just feel alive again. And that's what marathon running is to me. And I'm just so happy to be here. Advice for new runners is to believe. Go. Just go. That's what you have to do. If you believe, you can and you will. That second win, that third win, they will come. But it all starts with you. It starts with your mind, with your heart. Believe.
All right, thank you. Joe?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to ask the question again. Just one more time.
Somebody's already hit the wall. All right, let's take it from the top. Better today than Sunday.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, tell us about your first marathon. And
yes.
again, for those people out there who are maybe going to run their first one on Sunday, what sort of advice would you give them?
Absolutely. Okay, good. Thank you again.
Hey, we're going to pace ourselves, all right?
That's right. So actually, my first marathon, we're going to take it back to 2015. And I actually ran the Paris Marathon my first time. And woo, I don't know, somebody say, allez. And the experience was, it was a wonderful experience. I come from run crew culture, and just building for the marathon training block, I had my mind set on like this specific number. I was like, I'm gonna run a 4-hour marathon. I'm gonna train for it. I noticed that I was a little bit faster than the 4-hour pace, but I was just dead set on sticking to that pace. The Paris pacing team is pretty good too, just so you know. So you guys
Watch
got
out.
some competition back there, pace team, New York City Marathon pace team. And I found a woman, wearing these high pink, like neon pink socks. And I just kept my eye on her. She was running very, very close to the 4-hour pace group. I started with the 4-hour pace group. Every time I got like sidetracked or kind of like enamored with the cityscape of Paris, I brought myself back to looking for those pink socks, and I was like, okay, she's here. I'm on the right path. So my best advice, if you are running for a specific time, choose a time a little bit slower than you're actually trained up for. This is your first marathon, so once you run this first one, you're definitely going to run the next one. If you haven't already signed up for another one already, most of you probably already did the 9+1 for 2023. Hands up if you did. I see hands. There we go. Exactly. So if you are running the New York City Marathon for the first time, this is the time to just enjoy yourself, relax, have a good time. Choose a time that's a little bit slower than you're actually trained for, so you can actually enjoy the event, enjoy the race. And then find somebody with some pink socks and follow her. And you'll be good.
All right, thanks for that. Pink socks aside, same question to you, Linda.
Hi. Can you hear me? Okay. My first marathon is actually New York City Marathon in 2005. I spent many years living in the city watching the marathon, going up First Avenue. At first, I was like, I'm never doing that. And then as the years went by, it was like maybe. And then I met somebody who ran marathons, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And she told me she started with New York Road Runners when we had the running classes with Bob. Anybody know Bob Glover? Bob Glover and such. And so I started taking the running classes and gave myself a year to prepare for it, and then I ran it, and from 2004 to 2005. I enjoyed it, and of course, I'm back for more. Been back in New York probably this is my 5th, maybe, New York and such, and I ran others. My best advice to you, and what they told me my first time, was just enjoy it. You're a rock star for a day. Everybody loves you. They're screaming your name, and just soak in it. It's really fun.
All right, thank you. You're all getting me pretty excited now. So yeah, Stephanie, back to you. Us coaches, and I know that you're also a coach and you have an adult training camp every summer. We always say, which you'll hear us do later for core strategy, nothing new on race day. So for those of you out there, what does that mean for you, Stephanie? And like, what are some maybe training and nutrition tips for pre-race day for our runners out there?
Well, I guess I would say, since you guys have never heard from me, you shouldn't listen to anything I offer because it'll be new to you.
How ironic. Thank you.
Tell me if they're laughing because I can't see anyone. Okay, great. So no, honestly, that whole nothing new on race day, I think like where that can come into play is like, what's going to happen the next couple days? Like, we're all really nervous, right? So one thing I like to do is I actually write down, you're nervous today. That's okay. Because sometimes we kind of like question why we're nervous or why we're overthinking things, but it's a really natural part of this process because you care about what's going to happen on Sunday because you put so many months and weeks and days and sacrifices to training. So I think it's okay to first acknowledge you're nervous, and sometimes those nerves tend to make you do things you wouldn't normally do, like, oh, I'm gonna try this new Thai restaurant even though I've never been there. So those are kind of the things, like, don't do anything new, like however you've been eating on training runs, what you've been eating before workouts, the night before workouts, just stay in that same rhythm and same routine. And same thing for training. The taper crazies are real. You put in all this work and you're really tired, and then now you have to back off, and sometimes that can be difficult because you almost don't sleep as well because you're not training as hard, and so you think you want to get in like all this extra work, but realize like you've done what you've done and it has to be good enough, and that's okay if you had missed days or things didn't go perfect. But again, go back to being proud of what you've done leading up to race day. And yeah, the nothing new part, I think it just trust that everything that you have done up until this point is exactly what you needed to do to be ready on Sunday.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. All right, Elvin, same question to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say listen to your body. You know what works best for you. Listen to your body. Don't try anything new. Stick to what you know in your training. Myself, personally, I like to carb load, so I like to replace typically protein with a little bit of extra carbs. I also like to increase salt leading up to the race. Hydration doesn't start on race day. It starts now. So if you haven't started drinking your water, start now. So join me. Let's hydrate together. This Sunday is your moment. This Sunday is our moment. It's our marathon. So own the moment. Like, this is our moment. Don't try anything new. Listen to your body. I love to play some of my favorite songs to get pumped up. I love to meditate. I love to envision myself with Dyckman Run Club just crossing that finish line. I close. I see myself finishing healthy, accomplishing my goals. So I hope this Sunday we all accomplish our goals together. And at the end of the day, just have fun. Enjoy the process.
All right, thank you. I will say real quick, if you keep that energy up, you're going to have people leaving here tonight and go run the marathon. So just dial it down a little, because I might leave too. So, all right, Joe, should I repeat the question?
Please. I think we can all use a little.
If this was baseball,
refresh.
we'd be at 2 strikes. But all right, let's go. This is marathoning, so we're on it together. Coaches often say nothing new on race day.
Yes.
What are some of your nutrition and training tips before the race?
Great question. Thank you again for reframing this question. So this year we had a Zoom conversation with our 26 athletes that we are training for the New York City Marathon. And we have we have 6 first-time marathoners on the team. And we talked about this question, actually. And one of the things that I made a point to mention is that I know that you say nothing new on race day, but this is the caveat. Okay, who in here prides themselves on like doing, 20-mile long runs without water and without fuel? There's a couple of people in here, I know. Okay, there's one person, right? There's always somebody. There's always somebody that says, oh, I don't drink water, I don't fuel, I don't do this, I don't do that. This is the one time that if you don't have any fueling plan and you never drink water during your long runs and you never eat or you never fuel during your long run, this is the one time that I will say, hey, do it. Don't be a hero, buddy, all right? Don't be a hero. So just fuel. There's some great fueling on the course. I think this year we have, sports and science?
Yep.
Yes, so sports and science is a great fueling strategy. It's a great fueling product. And if you've never, and I know there's some people, nobody else put their hand up because this guy was the one bold person to actually be honest, but if you pride yourself on never taking any fuel, this is not the time to keep that going. So that's the one new thing that I would advise on race day, because if you don't, there's a nice little wall waiting for you at mile 16 or 18 or 20, and it has your name on it. So that's my one tip for you guys.
All right, thank you. Linda, same question?
I'm going to echo with take nothing new that you haven't done before or practice with. I noticed on the course a lot of, especially little kids, are giving out candies and fruits and stuff throughout the course, and it's tempting to take it from them. But if you need a little extra pep, that'd probably be the best time, and then you see where you are in the race. Um, I tend to get hungrier. I am like starving this whole week so far. I've been starving since Saturday for some reason. All of a sudden, my appetite starts growing. So just feed yourself from now until then. Just keep eating. Don't worry about being a little bit more fluffier on Sunday. You're gonna work it off. Like the guys mentioned before, hydrate. Don't overhydrate. So it's a balancing act. It's Mother of God's going to be like 75,000 degrees on Sunday.
Give or take.
Give or take. For me, that's not my happy place. So I'm not sure where everybody is. So think about that, how you're going to handle that. Because it's probably going to be a huge difference from what we've been luxuriating in 50 degrees for the past week and a half to now inferno on Sunday. So just keep it in mind. Notice how your body goes, and bring something extra just in case you drop a drop of gel on the way out of nervousness or you bump into somebody.
Yeah, all right, thank you. So yeah, for our next question, back to you, Stephanie. As I mentioned, this is your grit finale. You've inspired loads of runners from across the country, across the world, but training for a marathon is not alone. So how do you find purpose and motivation and inspiration in your own journey?
Sure. Well, I like to think of the marathon, and I think I've said this before, it's 26.2 miles, a journey of self-discovery. Like, you find out a lot about yourself along that race course, and I think in the build-up to why you're actually lining up. I think everyone has so many different reasons why people run, but that's the greatest part about the running community, regardless if you're running a 2:15 marathon or you're one of the people walking and finishing 10 hours later. We all have this like collective meaning of running is saving our life in a way. And so for me personally, I lost both my parents to cancer, my dad when I was 18 and my mom last year. And when I was growing up and training, running was not that fun for me. I was like, I don't understand like why people run this long distance. It's kind of miserable. And then after my father passed away, he died while I was actually on a run, and something sort of happened to me, and I feel like he perhaps like passed through me. And ever since that happened, running just took on a different meaning, and it was no longer something that I have to do, but it's something that I get to do. And so running became sort of a gift to me. And then I became a professional runner, and so for the last 12 to 15 years, I have just been on this journey of trying to figure out how good I really can be, because it's so rare, I think, that we can go all in on something in life and really have something on the line that cannot go your way. And this sport can break your heart, and that's what it has done to me, but it has also given me so much purpose. And so really, I just look at what a privilege it is that I get to do this for a living. And this year has been really special, and just kind of reflecting back on my career and realizing any of us who make it to the start line, like, we're in a really good spot.
Wow, thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Steph. I know my wife, I told her I was going to be on this panel. She's a massive fan, so you have fans out there, and you continue to inspire people even after you retire. Speaking of inspiration, the same question for you, Elvin. I know you're obviously the president of Dyckman Run Club, so how do you find inspiration and purpose in your running and your marathon training as you obviously inspire others?
Absolutely. I find inspiration by just remembering where I come from. Dyckman, when I was growing up, I was overweight, and I'm from a small community in northern Manhattan, and we didn't have a lot of run clubs. Like, we had so many beautiful empty parks, and after becoming a marathoner, every single second of the day, I'm inspired to educate everybody on the infinite benefits of running, and that's really what motivates me and my team to continue to push. Every year, every marathon is a reminder that I can. And that's what it is to me. Like, every year, I'm inspired to just have that feeling that I can. Marathon and running really showed me, and it just really showed me by my experience, that hard work truly pays off. There's no way anyone can complete a marathon without working hard. So marathon running is something that is just so special to me. And every second of my life, that's why I stay inspired. Just that feeling of remembering where I came from, the challenges that I had to overcome. And now that I have the privilege and the blessing to run with you guys, what? How can you not be inspired? So I'm excited, this Sunday for sure.
That's right.
All right, Joe. I'm not asking again, Joe.
Oh, man.
I'm not asking again.
We had a good pattern going. You asked Stephanie, and then you asked me. It's the same question. But I think I remember it because, Elvin got me so pumped up. I'm like ready to jump out my seat. Personally, I find inspiration like really close to home. My wife is sitting in the front seat. She has my son. We're about to give birth in 10 days. And so my inspiration, I draw it largely from, Jen and my family. My sister was diagnosed with lung cancer about four years ago. She's hanging in there. She's super strong. And every year around this time, she'll text me and be like, all right, so are you running the New York City Marathon? And there was one year, I think it was like 2019, I was not going to run it. And I was like, I have a bid, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. And she was like, are you sure, really? Oh, I always get so excited to see you running down the, Fifth Avenue. I'm like, really? Like, I didn't know she really watched me that closely. And so she's like, hey, I always wanted to run the marathon, and now I know I really can't. So it really hit me about 2019, about 4 years ago, three or 4 years ago, that this running thing is much bigger than me. Albeit I started the running team 6 years ago. I've been training runners and coaching runners to run long-distance race events. Until she really said that to me was when I really found some sense of urgency and some sense of purpose, and it kind of reframed me and gave me some more structure and some more inspiration to continue on the path that I'm going. So, yeah, that's
beautiful. Thank you. All right, Linda.
I have two parents that have some health issues with blood pressure and strokes and such. So, I had to find something that helped me take care of myself. And thankfully, seeing those people running for so many years down First Avenue, and then being able to join the running classes inspired me, and to continue on. I feel like running is special. It even when it doesn't feel so great and it sucks out there, you don't want to be outside. It's hot. It's cold. It is just. You just go out there, and I pretty much can never think of a time where I regretted going out for a run after I've done it. It may not have felt great, but I never said, darn, I shouldn't have done that, essentially. So you probably find yourself in that spot, maybe Sunday, maybe next week or next month. So just running and feeling good and just getting out there and knowing that I could do it and seeing other people who have challenges, just getting it done. Seeing people who are older than me, younger than me, whoever, just seeing them getting done is kind of like, it's no specific person. It's just somebody who runs by you like, whoa. And then it just clicks into your head. So that's the inspiration.
No, thank you very much. So something you just mentioned, Linda, reminds me, actually segues really well to our next question. So obviously we have Steph Bruce, 2:27 marathoner, and we tend to think that elite athletes they are somewhat superhuman, but they run the marathon the same way we do. So they also hit mental barriers, they hit rough patches and things like that. And that's the beautiful thing about running. It treats everybody equally. So I'm going to ask this question for all of you. Joe, take notes. But yeah, Steph, so when you've run many, many marathons and, other ones, how do you deal with those mental barriers, those rough patches that are somewhat inevitable?
Sure. So I kind of have this like rule or mindset that if you're in a bad patch, there's always a mile just around the corner. unless you're at mile 26, then pretty much you're done. But yeah, so that's kind of like what allows me to like weather the good and bad patches. And I try not to get too excited during the good patch because a bad patch certainly could come soon. So I think that keeps me even keeled. And then as far as like mantras, I'm a big Rocky movie buff. And so it's a little sensationalism because obviously we know you can't really go 15 rounds in a real boxing match. Nonetheless, I grew up in my career and my life with my dad watching the Rocky movies. And so two of my favorite quotes are sometimes going in one more round can make all the difference in your life. And then in Rocky 4, when he's talking to his son, he says, life ain't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. And so those are kind of my two mantras that I go to.
All right, thank you. Yeah. I would say Rocky 4, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's a great movie, one of the greatest montages ever. So if you haven't seen it, maybe save it to the night before the race, and you'll be good to go. Yeah, Elvin, same question to you.
No, absolutely. In terms of just the mental barriers, I just keep. I talk to myself. I tell myself hard work, dedication. I know I can. As long as I do my best, the rest is in God's hands. So why stress? Why have anxiety? Just do your best. That's all you have to do on race day. And I just tell myself constantly, hard work, dedication, hard work, dedication. That's actually one of my favorite mantras. But I have a new favorite mantra. Especially with my team, I always say there's only one way. The Dyckman Run Club way, and we love that because that right there embodies our hard work and dedication day in, day out. We just work hard. So when you hit that wall, when you hit that barrier, just remember, I can, and I will, and that'll get you through the race, and then we could have beers after.
All right. I don't even want to look at you, Joe. I don't know.
Look, mental barriers are inevitable. I mean, I have mental barriers sometimes just sitting on this stage and trying to remember what the question is going to be.
Yeah, how do you get over that?
Oh, my goodness. I just look at those red glasses, and I'm just like, all right.
Hey,
Roberto said it.
Next year, we'll have a teleprompter there. We got you.
That would be helpful. Okay, we got a note for you there, Mr. Wilson back there. So, yeah, mental barriers, especially in marathon training, they are inevitable. I mean, as much as the race is physical, we like to say it's 90% mental and the other half is physical, because you're just going to run into a lot of different things that's just going to bother you, from the littlest, like maybe you got a rock in your foot or in your shoe and you're like, oh my God, I got to get this shoe off and then I'm going to lose time, to like, oh, maybe I drank too much water, when I got to use the restroom, where's the next porta potty, should I even wait for the porta potty, I don't even know, to if you've run the marathon more than once, we all know that there's that point that you've had a breakdown before, and you kind of anticipate having that same breakdown in that same spot, and I see people shaking their heads because they know it happens. It's like your body and your mind have this kind of thing. It has its own memory, right? The body has its own memory that say like, oh, 125th and First Avenue, oh my God, I got to hit this bridge again, Jesus. Okay, but what you can do is say, hey, today is a new day. I'm not the same person that I was when I ran it last year, 3 years ago, because we didn't do it 2 years ago. You know, I am a different person right now. And you can say things to yourself like, I'm strong, I'm different, I'm strong, I got this. And you can say it loud enough that people will be hearing you and they'll get a little excited, like, yeah, I got this too, shoot. Like, so I would, to Elvin's point, talk to yourself and talk loud enough for the next person to hear you, because the other part of this mental barrier thing is that there's about 40,000 people, and there's about 1,000 people kind of next to you in your vicinity that are going through the same exact thing at the same exact time, and they could use a little mental boost and a little mantra for themselves. So don't be afraid to say, hey, I got this, because somebody else is going to hear that and be like, you're right, I got this too, thank you.
All right, I love it. Thank you. Same question for you, Linda.
What's the question? I'm only playing.
It's a Joe effect.
I'm only playing. there's a few things that are running through my mind. The mental aspect and talking to yourself. There are a couple of years where I wore my name on my shirt, and then there were years where I didn't wear my name on a shirt because some years having my name being called out, for 22 miles, it gets jarring. And other years it's like, yes. But I've decided not to, and then what I've done was, hey, Karen. I'm like, yeah, Karen, that's me. That's me. Mike, that's me. I just picked a name that I heard that sounded like me. That's me. You know what I mean? That's me. Yes. And you say thank you. Say thank you to that person. They don't know. They don't know. And speaking to yourself in New York, you're in New York. Speaking to yourself is second nature, basically. So nobody's going to look at you funny. For whoever's out of town, you can speak to yourself, and no big deal. I mean, I can't guarantee it for you, but I know there's different points of the race where it's hard. It could be in the 5th mile, could be 25th mile, could be 17th. And basically, sometimes I talk to myself, just get through this doggone mile. It may not even last that long. It's just a patch. And if it does, it does. I used to get caught up on like, oh my God, I gotta beat this other time. I gotta beat this time period. And you guys did so much hard work already leading up to this. I find that the marathon's the easy part, not so easy. The easy, not so easy part. Just enjoy it. And for the first time, forget about the time if you can, because I know we're runners, so we don't forget about the time. But try to, and just roll with it. Essentially, I gotta say that to myself for Sunday too, because I haven't ran for a while. So just roll with it and enjoy.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, we got 2 more questions, and this one should be relatively easy and straightforward. I'm not looking at anybody on the panel specifically, but yeah, you said roll with it. So specifically to that, starting with you again, Stephanie, what is your favorite part of the course and why?
Yes, so my favorite part of the course is what I consider to be the most low-key difficult part, which is Fifth Avenue, the climb from essentially 22 to 23 and a half miles. I think because that's where kind of the crowds can thin and you no longer have like the energy that you've had the whole time. And for me personally in the professional race, that's where a lot of people are hurting, I'm hurting, but the race like really takes shape there and a lot can happen. And it's a really good metaphor to being back to training like by yourself. Like no one's out there cheering your name, yelling for you. And this is the time where it's like, okay, this is where like all the hard work that you put in is gonna shine. And these are the difficult parts that you have to push through. And also just past where you turn in is Lenox Hill Hospital on the left on 77th Street. And I was born there and I'm a New Yorker at heart. So also my favorite place.
Thank you. All right, Elvin, same question to you, sir.
Yeah, so my favorite part of the marathon is mile 19, because that's where we have the Dyckman Run Club cheer zone, and that cheer zone has enough heart and passion to run over 1 million marathons. It's going to help you push through that wall. In my opinion, a marathon starts at mile 20. So once you get that boost from mile 19, you're going to feel like you have nitrous on your sneakers. And you're going to push past that wall, and you're going to have such a great race. So personally, I know I'm a little biased, but mile 19 does it for me. That's my favorite part of the course.
Yes. All right, straightforward.
My favorite part has changed. This is going to be my 7th time running the New York City Marathon. And each year is just, I have a different new favorite spot. Usually it's where my family is. My sister will randomly pop up somewhere. Jen has been at a certain spot. I think she was on mile 18, so she was right before you guys with TeamWRK. So it really depends where my heart and where my love is. And that automatically just kind of just jumps to the top of my favorite spot of the marathon course. But the finish line is always going to be my favorite, because then thank goodness it's over. Like
Thank you. Hey, just wrap it up, finish line, yeah. Linda?
You took my answer. You took the finish line, but I have a couple. Can I cheat?
Go for it.
I love the start. I love hearing New York a million times before you get started. It kind of pumps you up. You better play Frank Sinatra. One year you didn't play Frank Sinatra. It wasn't the same.
I wasn't here yet. I'm just gonna assume. Don't look at me.
Play Frank Sinatra. It pumps you up. My second favorite part is turning into 90th Street into Central Park. It's home. Your legs know that space. You've been running around circles in it, and it just familiarity until you got to go out to Columbus Circle. I can't stand that part. But but other than that, then the finish line, of course, to celebrate everything you did.
Yeah, thank you. Well, again, getting me super excited. Okay, thank you all. This last question specifically to Steph Bruce. As I mentioned, this is her last professional race. You've had a long, illustrious career. You've run many of our races, not just the marathon. So not to make you too nostalgic, but just wondering, has that sunken in yet, and what are you looking forward to the most after the race?
It hasn't sunk in yet. I think that's a good thing. I've been trying to kind of separate the emotion part of this race with what I'm trying to accomplish on Sunday. But yeah, I made the decision, last year I had some things happen to me personally. Like I said, I lost my mom to breast cancer, and she was sort of my biggest fan. A lot of allergies out there tonight, huh? Man, I'm in my office. Nope. So, yeah, and she kind of always told me that I could always run one step further. And so I sort of made the decision thinking that this was going to be my last year and I was going to retire, and New York seemed like a great place to do it since I was born in New York. My parents were from New York, and even though they're not out there cheering for me, I know they'll be looking up from above. So no, it has not sunk in yet because still a lot to accomplish on Sunday. And honestly, I'm just excited to celebrate with everyone in New York because we all, deserve to be on that start line and to get to that finish line in one piece. So let's go out and do that on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for that candid response, Stephanie, and thank you, all you panelists. And the marathon, our motto at New York Road Runners is to help inspire people through running. But on behalf of the organization, I know that a lot of what we do is because you inspire us, the volunteers, the run clubs, the individuals, the members. So New York is an eclectic melting pot, and as Linda said, if you're talking to yourself in New York, nobody's going to bat an eye. So there's a lot that makes this marathon special outside of just the sheer number. And a lot of that is because of the people like yourselves in this room. So thank you so much for coming out. We have time for a couple questions that we want to hear from you, the audience out there. So I believe some of our colleagues will be passing mics around. So any questions you have for Steph and the rest of our panelists, please feel free to raise your hand because I really can't see. So.
Awesome panel discussion, thanks. So I'm a yoga teacher, and I think yoga is incredible for young runners, and I'm teaching some free classes on Friday morning and Monday afternoon for everyone. So see me if you'd like to do that. My question, though, is about, I'm enjoying the free Michelob, thank you. But usually I stop drinking a few days before the marathon. I wonder if you guys have something you do. Do you stop that? Do you enjoy drink? Is it a week before? Is it a day before?
Joe, go for it. You looked at me first.
No, I can't remember the last time I had a drink. Oh my God. I think, stop drinking as soon as you can because, this race, it's going to be there whether you want it there or not. So, yeah, replace the drinks with water. Just water, water, water.
Yeah. Linda, are you on the edge of your seat to answer?
I'm not a big drinker though, but if I usually avoid it. I'm not a big drinker, so it's easy for me to avoid it. But I've had friends, my running friends who are running with me. They enjoy a glass of wine to chill them out for a bit. So go with how your body feels, and if you don't get dehydrated, then just don't go cray with it. That's all.
All right. Thank you. We'll kick it out to another question. I think I see a gentleman in the back. Yeah.
Oh, sure. I just did the Marine Corps Marathon yesterday. What's the best way to recover before 6 days recovery.
I think
5
I'll
days.
read it. Do you say you just finished a half marathon yesterday?
No, Marine Corps Marathon.
Oh, you just finished the Marine Corps marathon yesterday. Congratulations. What's the best way to recover from a marathon? I believe is the question. So before Sunday.
Oh man.
A time machine. Stephanie, do you have a?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I hope that was part of his plan this whole time, and he didn't just sign up yesterday. But yeah, I mean, I think if you've been kind of training for both of these, the great part is yesterday's race was a huge effort and a huge workout. So you really have to do no work over these next couple of days. So as far as recovery wise, if you've ever done these, you can jump in some warm Epsom salt baths. That's going to help just kind of like send some extra blood flow to your muscles. If you can get in Normatec boots or get any sort of therapy like massage, that would be great. And same thing you would be doing if you were just preparing for one marathon, fueling. You really want to get in carbohydrate, protein, fat, everything this week because you're kind of recovering from the breakdown of your muscles and all your glycogen stores. And then also you're trying to rebuild those over these next couple of days. So I would just focus on relaxing, very little running, and lots of eating and sleeping.
All right. Thank you. All right. One last question.
Hi, I'm supposed to eat the microphone. I was wondering if any of you could share your least well trained going to do this marathon anyway stories.
What was the question?
I didn't completely understand.
Running a marathon when you're not well trained?
Oh, okay. Running a marathon when you're not well trained. So let's hear really quickly from everybody. Hopefully you're all trained, obviously, but your piece of advice.
I would say run to finish, listen to your body, have fun, run to finish. The most important thing is that you finish healthy, so you listen to your body. It's okay to walk. It's okay to take breaks. Have fun. Soak it in. This is your moment.
That's great advice. I would say know where you are and don't go outside of that. I would go back to my first marathon tactic and run a lot slower with a pace group a lot slower than what I even think my current fitness is.
Linda and then Stephanie.
I mean, right now this training wasn't ideal for me, so I'm kind of in the same boat in a way. So I'm gonna treat it as I have to take my ego out of it and just go with the flow. And now adjusting it again because of the weather, the expected weather, and don't get stuck with you can't walk. Walking, there's nothing wrong with the walking. What I plan to do, I hope it works for me, is just walk through the water stations or the fuel stations, take my time, step off, try to go to the last table or middle table so you don't get the crash of everybody, but just take my time going through the fuel stations and just make sure I'm nourished and stuff throughout the race.
All right, thank you. Stephanie, last word of advice?
I would honestly just echo what Elvin, Joe, and Linda said. They nailed it.
All right. Well, thank you very much to our panelists. Thank you, Stephanie. Feel free to log off. I'm going to hand the mic back off to Stefan. Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah.
Awesome job. Coach Roberto, fantastic job as always. Linda, Joe, Elvin, Stephanie, thank you all so much. Another round of applause for our panelists tonight. Joe, I'll make you a deal. If you can get me running a 250 marathon, I'll get you a teleprompter. How about that? Done deal. It's a barter system. Also, speaking of costumes, that was a weird transition, I know. It's been requested at the end of the evening for anyone dressed as Forrest Gump to please get together in the back of the room for a Forrest Gump-inspired photo. It's my PSA for tonight. I was thinking about doing a little raffle. How do you feel about that? I have no idea what the prizes are. No, I'm kidding. We have some really nice NYRR premium gifts for you tonight. So we'll do a little raffle now, and then we'll do a couple of raffles at the end of the evening, so you have to stick around. Our friends from Elvin, you want to come up and grab we'll bring you up here because you have that great suit on. You have a great energy. All right, there we go. If it's someone from the Dyckman Run Club, I'm going to say this is rigged. And I want a Michelob Ultra. No, I have to wait till Sunday. Here we go. 525 7878. 525 7878. Anyone? Yes, right there. Well, very nice. You could get excited. What's your name? Hey, Linda. Well, congratulations, Linda. Linda, and there's Lorraine right on cue. Very nice. We'll have more raffles later. I have a question, though, because we're going to talk course strategy now. And what's some wonderful advice we got, right, between Linda and Elvin and Joe and Stephanie. Some great advice. I love the idea of being a rock star for the day. Elvin, I love that idea of believe, pushing yourself. I know when I come by mile 19, I better get some love from the Dyckman Run Club because I'm going to need it probably at mile 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through. My question is, and maybe we can bring up the lights a little bit. Is that possible? I just want to be able to see everybody. We have a lot of folks running the TCS New York City Marathon on Sunday, right? Back to 50,000 plus runners. I know a lot of you in this room are running. How many will be running their 5 or more TCS New York City Marathons? Put your hands in the air. All right, 5 or more. How about 10 or more? Oh, Linda, you still have a hand in the air. How do I go 15 or more? All right, stand up if you're 15 or more. I want to see you. Stand up. Stand up. Heck yeah. 20? 30? All right, hold on one second. How many we have back there? 35. How many here? 23? 33. I'm just making up numbers at this point. 33, 35. How about you, ma'am? 35, 36 on Sunday. Now I feel like Donahue. 18. Wow, this is absolutely incredible. I'm inspired. So, we all have some goals ahead of us, I think. Out of all of you, though, how many, just in general, show of hands, how many folks are running the TCS New York City Marathon on Sunday? And out of all those hands that are raised, and I want you to stand up, how many of you will this be your very first marathon? Stand up. Yes! This is what the running community is all about right here. So whether it's your first, your 35th, your 32nd, your 23rd, your 18th, let me tell you, if it's your first one, the standard is set very, very high. I promise. But let me also be the very first one on behalf of our entire NYRR family. We cannot wait to welcome you to that finish line right outside this door on Sunday and officially bring you into that club as a marathoner. So, awesome. Well, with that being said, I think we have to talk a little bit about course strategy, right? We've talked about nutrition, maybe when we should lay off the Michelob Ultras, right? We talked a little bit about that. Although the Dyckman Run Club keeps getting refills. It's like, I don't judge, but I'm like, I love it. I know where I'm going to be partying on Sunday afternoon. We heard from Coach Roberto, but we're going to bring up another colleague to join Coach Roberto here in just a second. Steve Muir, let me talk a little bit about Coach Steve. We talk about Coach Roberto's energy being infectious, and I'm a man of my word. I mean, talk about a guy with great energy, great positivity, embodies the idea of inspiring folks through running. I've known Coach Steve for quite some time as well. First as a runner, I would just see him hosting events, things like that. He's always inspired me. He's run the New York City Marathon multiple times. I'm going to brag about him a little bit because he has a marathon personal best of 3:03. Joe, we're coming to you for that 250 thing. If I can't get you the teleprompter, Steve can, I promise. One of us can. But right now, he heads up. He's been with New York Road Runners for 8 years. He heads up our NYRR pace team, which we talked about earlier, about being the best in the business. And I'll tell you, when it comes to course strategy, when understanding this course from Staten Island all the way through Brooklyn, Queens, into Manhattan, up into the boogie down, back into Manhattan, and finishing right here in Central Park, there's no one that knows the course better. So do me a favor, please welcome to the stage to talk about course strategy, Coach Steve Muir, and please welcome back Coach Roberto Mange.
All right.
There we go. Hey guys, what's up? It is bright up here. Wow,
Right?
You guys are not lying about that. Welcome to New York, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Once again, put your hands up for your first TCS New York City Marathon. First timers. That's a lot of people, Roberto.
Yeah.
Guys, we are excited to be here. We're going to break down the course mile by mile so you know what to do on Sunday, guys. If this is your first or if it's your 35th, I think was our highest of the day, we're going to give a lot of information. But Roberto, we have three big tips for a runner I want you to talk about. Number one for our runners.
All right. First, it's awesome to be on stage again with you, Steve. You had mentioned this is your first time since 2019, so welcome back. But yeah, so we'll be doing this every day, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Jacob Javits Center. So if you don't get everything you need today, come back when you pick up your bib. But yeah, the first thing we say is avoid the race before the race. So what does that mean, and why do we say that, Steve?
Avoid the race before the race. Guys, your medal is for 26.2 miles. What I don't want is you sprinting to the start line because you missed the ferry. I don't want you trying to get the next bus because you want to sleep in for 5 minutes. Get there nice and early. We're all locals. We know how busy the subway is on a Sunday morning normally. But imagine 50,000 people out there doing the same thing you are doing. So give yourself extra time to get where you need to be. I say give yourself about 30 to 40 minutes extra to get to that ferry, to get to that bus, whatever you need to do, because remember, there's also bathroom lines. There's a lot of people that need to go to bathrooms on a race day. There are lines to get in the bus after the ferry. There are lines to get through the NYPD security. There are lines to get into the corrals. So give yourself extra time so you're not racing before the race day, Coach Roberto.
Exactly. The second thing we say, which I mentioned a little bit ago with our panelists, is nothing new on race days. So essentially that means, you know, you've all trained really well, ideally. Of course, there is no such thing as perfect training cycles. So for the woman over here who asked about that, you know, you do the best you can, but you want to make sure that you fall back on the training and the nutrition, hydration, gear, everything that worked with you to get here. So that means what you use in your long runs, what you ate the night before your long runs, what you had for breakfast the morning of. Essentially, you don't want to have November 5th or even November 6th be an experimental day. You know, you'll be walking around, you'll be pretty nervous, you know, but you'll think, hey, I could focus on what I could control. And what I could control are things like, obviously not the weather, but you can control what you're going to wear, what you're going to eat, and what you're going to take on your person as far as on-course nutrition. So nothing new on race. If you want to experiment or anything like that, awesome. Leave that for after the race, you know, in your next training cycle.
As they say, if you haven't drank it, if you haven't ate it, if you haven't slept in it, if you haven't thought about it, if you haven't breathed it, if your best friend has not recommended it, don't do it, guys. Do not do it. The third tip I want you to walk away from is do not go out too fast. We're going to break this down why in a little bit, but ultimately this course has bigger hills in the latter part of the course than the first part. The biggest hill, though, is mile 1, but if your first mile is like your Fifth Avenue PR, you're going to have a bad day and a long day, guys. So keep the pace conservative early on so you can pass runners at the end of the race instead of being passed, Coach Roberto.
Yeah, and the good thing about New York, at least in my opinion, is that the highest climb, the biggest hill on the course, is actually the very first mile. So for those first-time marathoners, you might not know this, is the Verrazano's Bridge. So what happens there is you're full with adrenaline. There's people all around you, so you probably don't even feel it. You could go out as fast as you want. Don't. But you can, and you won't really notice it. Obviously, if that hill was later on in the race, you'd be like, oh, boy. But really, not going out too fast means if you have a race goal, and I think it was maybe Elvin earlier on stage mentioned, like, you know, oh, no, actually, it was Joe, sorry, mentioned, like, you know, go out slower than your goal pace. And that's exactly what you should do. As a quick anecdote, each year I've had the privilege of pacing a sub-3 marathon, and that's about 6:50 or so per mile. Each year, like clockwork, that first mile is 7:15 to 7:18. With the same exact effort, which Steve will talk about later with our pacer, with the exact same effort, the second mile, which is coming down the Verrazano's Bridge into Brooklyn, is about a minute faster, or 6:16 to 6:18. So again, don't go out too fast. Don't worry if you seem a little bit off pace early on. It's better to go out slow and build up than go out too fast, because eventually you would pay for that.
All right, guys. So we are in our start corrals. We are nice and warm. We have had our nutrition. We're tapered. We're excited. We're ready to go. And guys, this is the only event, I think, in the world that starts off with a cannon It is amazing. It is one of the best days in New York City. You're going to go over the Verrazano Bridge. You're going to hear great music. People are going to stop and taking photos. Look to your left. You're going to see New York City. And you're going to, as Roberto said, this is the biggest climb you're going to do on race day. 50,000 people are going to be joining you out there. So enjoy it. But what a lot of runners do is they're going to be panicking because maybe you're starting farther than you want to be back, or you're behind a big group of runners you don't want, and you're going to be kind of weaving around people, and that's what I'm saying. You're getting more than 26.2 on your watch. So enjoy the crowds, sit back, relax, because it will open up a little bit later on 4th Avenue, and this is what you guys will be seeing, a little more crowded, of course, but this is what you'll be seeing on November 6th as you go across the Verrazano Bridge, Roberto.
And this is awesome. Obviously, this does not do that climb justice, but it is a pretty steep climb. So again, well, look how fast they're going. They're going out too fast. Ignore them. Yeah, slow down. Tune in next time, see how they finish. But no, this is just awesome. So as you can see towards the end of that video, it is a steep climb. And again, don't go out too fast. If you have a race time, that's okay. But, you know, between the temperature potentially and the course, and as Coach Steve said, there's a lot of bobbing and weaving. Some people even stop and take photos because on a nice scenic day, you're running on the bridge. You could look out all the way there. You can see Manhattan, which for me is actually really awesome, but also a little bit daunting. I'm like, how is that 26 miles? That looks like I'll be there in 4 days. But yeah, you want to really not go out too fast because eventually we get into Brooklyn, and then you have several miles, which we'll touch upon, that those are relatively flat, and that's where you could start to settle in on your pace. But the first 2 miles, I would say, focus on effort. Don't worry too much about the pace because it is a 26.2-mile race. It's not a 1 mile or 2 mile race, so don't worry about going out too fast and getting ahead of pace.
Brooklyn is my favorite borough to run. Anyone from Brooklyn in here? Put the hands up. There you go. Brooklyn, guys. Brooklyn is a fun place to run through because every neighborhood comes alive. You're going to have a diverse set of music, people cheering for you. It is so fun to run through there, but it's also pretty flat. As I said before, if you feel boxed in early on, you feel like going a little slower, that's okay. Because once you get to Brooklyn, guys, you can be high-fiving some kids. Once again, don't go out too fast here, but you can settle in maybe in your 9-minute per mile pace, whatever you need to do as you go through Brooklyn. Keep an eye here, guys. As you see the different colors, you see green, you see orange and blue. As you get onto 4th Avenue, it is separated. You're going to have green on the runner's right side and orange and blue on the runner's left side. It is important if you have family and friends cheering for you, make sure they're on the correct side of the course so that they see you as you cross Roberto Mile 8 coming up.
Yeah, and before I continue, I want to give a shout out. As Steven said when he was introducing Steve, he oversees our pace team. And as you were coming in, we have awesome pacers. They're somewhere in the back right corner. They're going to be out there just about every corral. Steve organized 82 of them. 82
pacers
okay,
out
82.
there, guys.
I've been quoting 82, 83. So we have pacers. We'll have pacers on Sunday from 3 hours all the way to 6 hours. So, you know, if you're trying to run anything between 3, 3:15, et cetera, you'll be in good hands. So the reason I mention that is because those pacers are not going to go out. Like an example you always use is a 4-hour pacer. That's about 9 minutes, 9 seconds per mile. So that pacer, that first mile up the Verrazano is not going to go 9:09. They're going to go a bit slower. That second mile, they're going to go a bit faster because of the same effort that they're putting in. But as Coach Steve said, once we get into Brooklyn, that's relatively flat there, and that's where they're going to try to settle in. And the good thing, again, if you find yourself next to a pacer, they communicate a lot. They run with the sign, on the pace sign on one side of the finish time there, but they're also like, there's an aid station coming up, there's a hill coming up, there's a turn, so you're really in great hands. So when you get to Brooklyn, again, if you find yourself with a pacer, lock into them and follow their lead.
That's right, guys. As you get to Mile 8, it's an important part to bring up because if you ran this course before, it is where all 3 courses become one. You're no longer running on opposite sides of the streets. You're all running together. And a lot of times people ask me, is there a part of the course that's crowded? Well, of course, Mile 1 is crowded. We talked about that. Mile 8, I've seen in the past, it can be a little bottlenecky because once again, everyone's kind of funneling to one kind of section. Just keep that in mind. You don't need to adjust anything or change anything. It does sometimes get crowded up there as you go on to Mile 8 because all the courses are becoming one. Keep an eye, guys. We have aid stations out there every mile between, ooh, that's not a good circle. That's kind of a good circle. Between mile 3 and 25, excluding 5, 7, 9, these aid stations and water stations are about a block long, guys. Avoid the first water station. Go through the ladder stations, table 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's volunteers out there all day handing you guys cups of water. Eye that volunteer, take their cup, thank them, of course, but the ladder tables are less crowded, Roberto, as you make your way up 4th Avenue.
Yeah, and shout out to Linda. I think you're there. You mentioned that you know, the aid stations, go to the last table. That is sage advice. The other piece of advice that I would say, and I learned this the hard way, and Stephen was saying he was an Olympian, this and that. They didn't teach you that at the Olympics. Not that there's an Olympic school, but they don't teach you that regardless, is when you're running by an aid station and you grab a cup of water, pinch it, because what I used to do, running by, grab the cup of water, couple of strides, cup of water's empty. Now I'm thirsty. Or, even worse, run by, grab the cup of water, go drink it. Next thing you know, I waterboard myself, water in my mouth, in my eyes, in my nose. That's not a good feeling, especially when you're running. So you want to pinch that cup, and you make a little funnel, and you can kind of drink it as you go along. That's a lot easier. The water doesn't splash around. And then, of course, just toss it aside to our volunteers or a bin. But make sure that when you run by, everybody's thirsty, everybody's eager. Make sure you run out a little bit, because as Coach Steve just said, the aid stations tend to be about a block long.
That's right. Gatorade, Endurance, Fuel, Lemon Lime, and Flow Water will be out there on the course, guys. As you make your way through Brooklyn, you're going to be going Clinton Hill. You got Williamsburg, Greenpoint. It is a block party out there, guys, so enjoy it. And then you're going to head into your third borough of the day, Queens. Where are you, Queens? Queens, guys. You're going to make your way over the Pulaski Bridge into Queens. Look to your left, because you have a great view of the city as you make your way through Queens, Roberto. And you will have SIS Joes out there.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Since Steve is shouting out all the boroughs, we did start in Staten Island. So anybody here from Staten Island? All right, hey! And I think that's our 35-year marathoner. Okay. Staten Island, literally in the house. Okay, so Staten Island, we've gone Brooklyn, and now we're in Queens. Yeah.
Queens
all right.
still here.
So Queens is in the house. Good. I can't wait till we get to the Bronx.
Get ready.
I think some representatives from the Bronx are here. But yeah, so again, we'll have SIS Nutrition, Science, and Sports, as Joe shouted out earlier. See, I'm remembering what every panelist said. It's called referencing. Yeah, so you see as Coach Steve is showing, we have aid stations everywhere along the course. So the good thing is, for those people who maybe in their training don't like carrying water or nutrition, you are covered, as Coach Steve said, just about every mile you can see over there. But also, obviously, some people like to run with some sort of belt. And the one thing I will say, because maybe many of you did it, especially training for the marathon this summer, we do not allow hydration bags. So nothing that goes over the shoulders. You could have a belt looking like Batman with your little, fuels and things like that, but no backpacks or over-the-shoulder hydration vests. And I want to say that now, and we will reiterate it during the core strategies at the expo, because the last thing we want to do is, as we say, nothing new on race day. You show up to the start village on Sunday morning, and you find out that you can't take it, and then your whole nutrition hydration plan is a bit ruined.
You're going to make your way through Queens, guys, and then you're going to run into the Queensboro Bridge. Those who've ran the race, raise your hand. Did you like running over the Queensboro Bridge? Mixed feelings, right?
Mixed crowd.
Mixed crowd, I feel it. Well, we have to run it on Sunday, no matter what. You have to do it. So, guys, let's make it enjoyable, right? Let's have a good time.
Are we running it this year, or did we change the course?
We're running it this year, guys.
Okay.
People like it, I find, for the same reasons people don't like it. They like it because it's quiet, you're by yourself, you can kind of focus on your form, there's no one yelling at you. They don't like it because it's quiet, no one's yelling at you, you can focus on your form. So we have to do it no matter what, and it is a very unique part of the course because, guys, as I said before, you are by yourself. No one is there yelling at you. All you hear is a pitter-patter of the runners behind you, in front of you. You might hear some people cursing because they had a bad race. They didn't follow our pace team out there. They went too fast. They're having a hard time up this hill. But enjoy this part of the course because, like I said, take solitude of how you're feeling. Adjust. Do you need to go slower? Do you need to check your form? Going up hills, you use different muscles. So use those muscles. Get up that hill. As you come down, you're going to start feeling the energy, guys. Because as you come down that hill, you go on to First Avenue, you almost like a big U-turn, and it is the reason why we sign up year over year over year, 35 years of the TCS NYC Marathon course, because it is First Avenue, Roberto, the best part of this course.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what? Play that video once again, and shout out to Steve. He got on his space suit and his rollerblades and his GoPro, and he filmed this at 5 a.m. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, this is really awesome because, again, it's the only part of the course there aren't any spectators. So I want to just a piece of advice, use this as a kind of mental check-in, you know, be kind to yourself. A lot of people talk about hitting a wall or a rough patch. What you do find here is that you don't have, for the first time in the entire course, and the only time you will you don't have that boost of the crowd. So again, when you get there, knowing in advance that you're going to be running up that without any crowd support, I think it's a time where maybe you work on some mantras, as our panelists had mentioned, or you just say, hey, when I get to this part, once again, focus on effort, because a lot of time your pace could dip here because it is a deceptively long climb, and it's at a point where you're beyond halfway. So even if you pace yourself well, it's naturally okay to be tired. So that's another thing. Like say, hey, I'm tired, but that's okay. You know, you shouldn't feel like you're superhuman if you're pacing yourself well. Obviously, if you're not pacing yourself well, this is a tough part. But regardless, what you want to do when you get onto First Avenue, no matter how you feel, you get an immediate boost, an adrenaline rush. It's super loud. If I could shout into the mic, you'd all go deaf. But it's awesome. So what you want to do, you come down that steep ramp onto First Avenue. You just soak up the energy, but make sure that you don't pick up the pace, because this photo, I love it, but it doesn't do it justice. You can kind of see as you go further up First Avenue, it is a gradual incline. And the further along you go in the marathon race, the further along you go, the harder any sort of incline feels. So as I mentioned before, the Verrazano Bridge is the highest climb on the course. Nobody feels it. Later on, a slight climb like this, and as we'll see later on Fifth Avenue, everybody feels it. So again, when you get onto First Avenue, use that as an opportunity to again lock into your goal pace. Again, if you're following the pacers, great, because as Elvin said earlier, let me see. Yeah, the marathon starts at mile 20. Correct? You did say that? All right. Awesome. So yeah, make sure that you run First Avenue, you soak up the crowd coming off Queensboro Bridge, but don't pick up the pace yet.
That's right, guys. And anyone here from Manhattan, raise your hand. We are now entering Manhattan.
Thank you for coming all the way out tonight.
Manhattan being your fourth borough of the day. We're going to cover a lot of it, but also keep in mind we're going to have our partner's marathon photo out there along the course as you come over the Queensboro Bridge, guys. Smile for the camera. I want those photos that you buy after the race, arms in the air, cheering. None of this looking down at your watch or hobbling. You know, enjoy the photos. Have a good time. SIS Gels will be there at mile 18. You're going to head up First Avenue North. Roberto said it is a little incline. And then you're going to head over the bridge into our friends in the Bronx. Give it up for the Bronx. Heading into the Bronx is a lot of fun. You're going to have a great cheer stations. The thing about the Bronx, guys, is when you're cheering the Bronx, the fans out there know where you're feeling. They know what your body is going through now. They know you're as Joe said, you hit that wall at mile 18, 19, 20. That's a lot of times how far a lot of our first-timers, that's the mileage they've gone to. And they know that. So they're going to be out there cheering for you guys, giving you high fives, all the energy, all the music, the DJs are out there, getting you through the last 10K, Roberto.
Yeah, and what I will say, year in and year out, when I get to the Bronx, no matter how I'm feeling or the person I'm pacing is feeling, the Bronx shows up. And it makes you want to dance. And, you know, as we say, like New Balance has the entertainment center there. The music is blasting. The Bronx knows that you're only there for about a mile or so, but they also know that that is like the 20th mile, which is a pivotal mile. So the Bronx shows up, soak up the energy, because the TCS New York City Marathon is nothing without the fan support out there as well. That's part of what makes it the greatest, and you will experience that in the Bronx.
That's right, guys. We will have bananas are back this year, guys. We do have bananas.
Yeah, bananas!
I like the healthy people. Get bananas. Bananas are back at mile 21 and 23 this year. So once again, nothing new in race day, but they will be out there for you guys along the course as you make your way back into Manhattan, guys. We're going up Fifth Avenue right now. So as you run up Fifth Avenue, you're going to see some trees ahead of you. And a lot of first-timers, maybe who aren't from New York City, you're going to say, oh, Central Park. Is that Central? I'm almost there, right? This happened to one of our coaches. You think I'm making up? That happened to a coach before, guys. It is a thing. So
Don't shame them.
It's Marcus Garvey Park. You're going to make a left hand. You're going to make a right-hand turn, a left, another left, and a right-hand turn back on to Fifth Avenue, Roberto. And this is the part of the course also that runners don't really know about the elevation change here. So talk about kind of what happens on Fifth Avenue. I think Steph Bruce also talked about it.
I'll tell you what happens for me. Internally, I cry. I have so much respect and fear for Fifth Avenue because no matter how great I'm feeling, Fifth Avenue just takes it out of me. Again, not putting any fear into you, but like, you know, Elvin said the marathon starts at mile 20. For me, I always tell people it starts at Fifth Avenue because if you can make it up Fifth Avenue, and Steph Bruce even mentioned it, for the pros, it's different. They're racing each other, not worried about time. But that's where, for me, if you can make it up Fifth Avenue feeling good to okay, the rest of the race is just like almost a victory lap, whether you're going for personal best or going for the victory or whatnot. So what makes Fifth Avenue unique is not that long. It's about a mile climb, but it's not even that steep. It's just you're so far into the race that at this point, even getting up on stage would feel like Mount Kilimanjaro. So what you really want to do is get through the Bronx, get through Harlem, and then make sure you save something for Fifth Avenue. The crowd is usually pretty good there, but that's where year in and year out I see just about the most carnage, because people who've gone out really, really fast, early on you never saw them. They went out, and like, you should let them go out. They're either going out because they're faster than you, in which case let them go, or because they're not pacing themselves well, in which case definitely let them go, because Fifth Avenue, I usually make the joke of, like, it seems like a family reunion. Like, you just see people you haven't seen in ages. It's like, didn't I see you in mile 3? And like, and I'll be honest, one year I was the one being seen. I think it was even last year. I was like, don't look at me.
It wasn't that guy.
Fifth Avenue is just like your high school reunion that you were invited to, but you didn't want to go, but somehow you ended up at. So what you want to do is really pace yourself. Again, if you're with our pacers, they're going to guide you up that, but save something for Fifth Avenue. And I say that because earlier when I was talking about coming up the Queensboro Bridge, you're going to be super hyped up Fifth Avenue, but when you're running the marathon, you have to always think planning ahead, because, the marathon is super, super easy until it's not. And I kid you not, and, those of us who've run many of them, sometimes it's as simple as, I'm feeling good, oh boy, what happened? And you're just like, you might work out of it, it might be a bad patch, or that might be it for the rest of the day. So ideally, you want to have that be further along with only maybe 2 miles left or 1 mile race. If you feel like that with 10 miles to go or 15 miles to go, you obviously haven't listened to us, which is, unfortunate, because here I am talking to you.
Guys, as you make your way up Fifth Avenue, you're going to enter Central Park, and this is where the announcers always say...
Anybody here ever been to Central Park?
A lot of them. So you guys know this. Okay, cool. You guys know Central Park. But this is where the announcers, they'll be on the broadcast saying, and the elites have entered the hills of Central Park. The runners are now entering hills of Central Park. Well, it's true, they're in Central Park, but you know what the hills of Central Park? You have Harlem Hill. I don't know Harlem Hill? There you go. We don't like it, though, right? So guess what? We're not going to run Harlem Hill. You have the Three Sisters after that. We're not going to run Three Sisters on Sunday. You have Cat Hill, but we're going to run down Cat Hill, which is also really cool. You're going to kind of weave your way through Central Park. This is coming into 90th Street there. You're going to weave into Central Park. You're going to exit the park one more time on Central Park South. This is the view of all the runners from last year coming in. It is wall to wall of spectators cheering your name on your shirt, guys. And this is where you're saying, goodbye, pace team. I liked you a lot. Thanks for getting me this far, but I'm going to leave you. I'm going to break 4 hours. I'm going to get 3:59:58 or whatever it is. You're going to leave that pacer, and you're going to give everything you have. You're going to remember why you signed up for this marathon. Did you sign up to run for a charity? Did you sign up to beat your time? Did you sign up because it was a dare and your best friend said you couldn't? You're going to leave whatever you have on the table right here, because it's about 800 meters as you head back into Central Park, Roberto, for that great finish line.
Yeah, and what's really cool about this part is that you could actually start to hear sometimes the announcers calling people in right at Columbus Circle, which, let's see, it's over there. We have an entertainment center. There's music playing, so it really helps draw you into that finish line. There is, however, a slight little climb. Obviously, we're all familiar with Central Park, I hope, because we're here. So the good thing is you're finishing, and this is where you start what a lot of us runners call the kick. So what this means is that you just start to pick up the pace. You don't go from a marathoner to Usain Bolt, but you really just start to pick up the pace because you're aware of the finish line being around the corner. You're very close to a personal best, or even if it's just running to finish, you're being pulled by the finish line. You're hearing the announcer. So this is also really one of my favorite parts, because people are passing each other, but also encouraging each other, which happens along the whole course, but never more than on Central Park South, as well as coming into the finish line. So this is a view of some of our past winners in 2021, and it's just awesome because everybody crosses the same finish line. That's the beautiful thing about running. No other sport, whether you're a professional, you're a fan of football or tennis, do we get to compete on the same stage on the same day with our idols. And here are some of the best athletes in the world, and we're just running up right behind them.
Don't do this, though. I don't want you to do that. I love this.
You know what? If you're gonna if you're gonna win, you could do that. Yeah, I would have pulled the muscle. I would have landed in the hospital
fell in
somehow.
The hospital after that. I love it, guys. You will be the 2022 TCS New York City Marathon finishers come Sunday as you cross that finish line. Give it up. Clap. That was good, guys. Yes. Guys, because the hard work is all the training, guys. As you cross that finish line, though, this is what me and Roberto like to call mile 27. I know they said the medal is for 26.2, but this is the finish part of the course where not many people kind of plan out what you're going to do after you cross that finish line. We plan how we're going to get there. We plan how we're going to train for it, a nutrition strategy, a race strategy, or what we're going to wear, what we're going to sleep. But who really has an idea what they're going to have for the race? You get the medal and go home, right? This is 50,000 people. There's a lot more logistics about finding your friends, your family, using your cell phone, where to get your medal, all that for this race. So as you cross that finish line, the first thing you're going to get is that medal. We'll put it around your neck. We'll have a marathon photo there to take your photo. You might see Roberto and I will take your photo for you too at the finish line. You're going to get a heat sheet. You're also going to get a bag from our partners at HSS. Now in that bag is some goodies for you. I want you to, as soon as possible, to start eating. I know you had brunch for 26 miles on the course, but as sooner you can start eating or drinking some solid foods, you should start doing that. It'll help your recovery process for the next few days, Roberto.
Yeah, and one piece of advice which we didn't mention before, if you haven't already done it, please download the official TCS New York City Marathon app. I think the vast majority of the people in front of me are running the race, but it's really great for all the pre-race activities and activations, but also for your friends and family. They can put your name, your other teammates' names, and other friends and family's names in there, and it'll help you track them along the way. So it'll say, if I put in Steve and he's running it, it'll show Steve just started. He's predicted to finish at this time. He's at mile 5, mile 10, etc. It'll actually give you live tracking. Not only that, but not only does it tell you when they're predicted to finish, but it'll also give you one last update and let you know when they finish, because as Coach Steve said, there's sometimes cell phone batteries die, or there's cell phone saturation, because there's 50,000+ of us runners, but we're not out there alone. There's a lot of friends and family, spectators, so don't always rely on cell phone. Make a plan on where to meet your friends and loved ones afterwards. And again, if they're tracking you on the app, they will know Steve Mura finished at 12:01, so then I know, okay, maybe I could expect him at so-and-so location at 12:30. So make sure you have a plan. This is that's not me, actually, but I was like, is that me? But yeah, so like, make a post-race finish plan. You've finished the 2022 TCS New York City Marathon, and we're just super, super happy to really kick off this first week, first of many core strategies with you out here today.
I love it. Any questions from anyone in the audience? I can't see anything like Roberto said earlier. All right.
Yeah, thank you. Just one question for you. Last year, within Central Park, there were no tapes or boundaries to hold the spectators back, and they converged on us, and there was almost no room for the runners, which was very dangerous because everybody was tired at that point. Is it possible for you to communicate with whoever's doing the setup to make sure they have some tapes to at least give a demarcation for the spectators within the park to hang back a little bit?
Certainly. Do you know where exactly? Is this coming in?
The whole distance from 90th Street till you came out, there was nothing, no demarcation. You know, a tape isn't going to hold people back, but it tells them where to stand. But there was nothing, and so they converged on us to get their pictures and whatnot, and we were crammed on top of each other. It was real. It's not an exaggeration.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you for that piece of feedback. We'll definitely escalate. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions we have, guys? Yeah, right over
somebody
there. I think I see someone. I think a microphone over there.
Okay, so this is going back to the nothing new on race day. Closer? Yeah, going back to the nothing new on race day thing. What's your advice for runners that are used to doing the training runs and their races without breakfast, knowing that at the New York City Marathon you're awake for about 5 hours before you start running?
What do you do before the marathon? How do you kind of stay active before the marathon?
So I do my training runs and my races without breakfast ever, just like, so at the marathon I'm awake for 5 hours.
Got it.
Would you recommend breaking your rule of nothing new and having breakfast?
Man, it is sore to hear, but I'm not. Is it how do you stay active before the marathon?
I understood his question. He said like nothing new on race day.
Okay.
He's been doing his long runs without having breakfast beforehand. So would you recommend breaking the rules? So yeah, what I would say, like, obviously when you've been doing your long runs, I say obviously I've not been with you, but I'm assuming when you've been doing your long runs, you've been waking up and within an hour or less, you've probably gone out the door and done your long run, which is, more ideal than, race day where you will be spending a few hours beforehand. So what I would say is make sure that you have a really good dinner the night before. And also, as I think it was Elvin mentioned, you start hydration, nutrition this whole week. So, you fuel up your body. And I'm trying to remember the funny word that you said, Linda, fubblies. Your body feels fubbly or something like that. Fluffy, I love it. So, you might feel fluffy, but the idea is that for you specifically to your question, if you're not going to have breakfast, make sure that you still take enough nutrition. That way, once you start the race, you don't go immediately into a deficit because you will start the race and you will have had maybe nothing to eat, relatively speaking, since the night before. So make sure that the few days beforehand you really stay on top of your hydration, nutrition. That way when you start the race, you're not in that much of a deficit. And then once you start, you know, dial into whatever your nutrition plan is. I usually tell people to go by minutes versus miles. So like if I'm going to take a gel every 3 miles, well, like 3 miles in the first few miles in the first part of the marathon might be every 21 minutes, but as I get more fatigue, it might be 22, 23, 24, what have you. Whereas if I say every 30 minutes I'm going to take a gel and a drink, 30 minutes is always the same, whether I've covered 2 miles or 4 miles or what have you.
I think we have a question back here somewhere. There's one we have one in the far back and one in the front here. Let's see who we can get to first. We'll get both you guys, don't worry.
Hello. My question is, at what time does the last shuttle bus leave from Staten Island to the start village? Because I got some friends of mine that are like, oh, I'm just going to sleep in. I'm like, the shuttles stop at a certain time.
Yeah, if I would say for all transportation needs, I would check at the expo after you get your race bib. You're going to get your bib on the right side. On the left side, there's going to be a booth that says Runner Support Center. And they're going to help you with all your transportation needs. They'll help you if you want to change anything or like what time the last buses, I think was a question. They'll know all the time and stuff like that. I think we had a question in the back. If we have 1, 2, 3, a few questions. Ooh.
Similar question. My bus from Midtown Manhattan, 5 a.m. It was the only bus that was available, and my run starts at 11:30 a.m. So I assume other people have the same situation as well. Potentially I can take a ferry, but as far as what was available on the website to get to the venue, what was available was 5 a.m. So I'm kind of re-strategizing. Similar questions, so I'm sure I can talk to the people in the back about maybe shifting that. But on the website, there was no option to change it once it was already set. So my bus is 5 a.m. and my run is at 11:30 a.m. So there'll be a bit of a gap. And ideally, I want to get more sleep come Saturday night.
I would say once again, if any changes you need to make for transportation, do it when you go to the expo after you get your bib. They can make any changes. If there's a spot available on buses or ferries, they'll make that change at the Runner Support desk, which is on the left side after you get your bib. It's kind of hard. It's easy to miss, but it's on the left side to be a big sign.
Question? Hi. Same topic, different question. If you are not taking the ferry or any forms of mass transportation and you're in Staten Island, what is the best route? And how long? Like, are there road closures in Staten Island? Does anyone know?
So if you in Staten Island, you want to drive there? Yeah. There's a private car, so Uber or your friend dropping you off. If you go to Lily Pond Avenue and McLean Avenue, it's about a quarter to half mile from the NYPD security. So if you dropped off there, that's kind of type in McLean Avenue and Lily Pond Avenue, and that'll be like private car drop-off area.
So thank you both, Roberto. Thank you, Steve. I just want to shout out Steve because I followed him for the Bronx 10 Mile in September. So thank you very much for getting me there. Can you speak a little bit to this weather, 72 degrees? Because I ran the Brooklyn half, and that was a really hot day, and we experienced some unfortunate things that day. So can someone speak to the weather of 72 degrees?
Yeah, certainly. For those who couldn't hear, this gentleman was asking about the weather for
He also shouted me out for pacing.
Oh, yeah.
He also...
Yeah. First
I paced Bronx and right on pace.
Steve paced Bronx, and
so
he's a hero for that.
Don't miss that.
Yeah,
okay. Weather.
Can't miss that. The second most important thing, he was asking about the weather. So yeah, obviously we're close enough to Sunday now that the forecast probably will be realized as it's been predicted. So what I would say, like, we're at NYRR, we're definitely preparing for all sorts of elements. We prepare year in and year out. So we probably have misting stations out there as well, obviously hydration stations. So it's the sort of thing where for most of us, whether we've been training for 12 weeks, 16 weeks or more, the fortunate thing that most of us have probably trained, especially the local audience here, have probably trained in New York City, and we know how New York City summers are with heat and humidity. So while it might not be the most ideal conditions to set your personal best, it's actually supposed to be a lot cooler to run your personal best. It's hopefully not conditions that we haven't faced at some points, and that's the beauty about training day in and day out and doing our long runs, even in the summer when we hate the heat and humidity. So what I would just say is, again, as I was telling the other gentleman before, just plan accordingly. Make sure you really stay on top of your hydration. And I used the example before of every 30 minutes. Whatever works for you. But like, if for something like that where you think it's going to be a little bit warmer, and we all, pun intended, run differently. Like for me, that temperature is perfect. What I would say is maybe adjust your hydration, not necessarily how much you take in, but the frequency of it. Like have something with you, and then also hit up the aid stations.
Any other questions we have?
I think there's somebody in the back.
Yeah,
Edgar?
We got Edgar back there. I see ya.
Yeah.
Good evening. God bless you, Coach Steve and Roberto. We're going to be lucky this year to have medal engraved.
Medal engraving is happening on Marathon Monday, guys, and Monday and Tuesday after the marathon. Right here, guys. So come by if you're local, which you are. Come by here and get a medal engraved with your name and your finish time on it, which is a lot of fun. We got a question up front. If there's not one,
hey,
I don't know
are
what
you
microphones
able
are.
to disclose?
Can you say it one more time?
Able to disclose whether Kipchoge's running this year?
Is Kipchoge running?
Is Kipchoge running this year?
He's actually one of our pacers. I'm happy to
He's
announce.
a 205 pacer, guys.
He's going to be taking the 4-hour group. We think he's ready. No, Kipchoge is not running this year as far as us employees. So it'd be a hell of a
Surprise
delight.
drop-in?
Yeah. But no.
All right, next we got,
Question over-
I think
yeah.
we're going in front. Let's do this one. Ruth, we'll go here first, and then we'll come over here. Yeah.
So one of the things that like gets people really stressed before the actual race is the porta potty line. Can you confirm that there are going to be porta potties that are in your starting corral in addition to before the start?
Yeah, so the question was about porta potties, guys. There is porta potties in the start village. So when you go to your start village, we didn't go over this, but it's here. In your village, blue, orange, green, you're all going to have the same amenities. We have many, many porta. I don't know how many porta potties, but there are a ton of them. Use those right when you get to the island. There will also be porta potties in the corrals, so use those as much as you want to as well. And then along the course, almost where every aid station is, there will be porta potties as well. People always ask me, what's the shortest line on the course? They're all busy. There's 50,000 people out there. I think mile 3 is usually crowded because people didn't go earlier. But along the course, there'll be porta potties as well.
Okay. Hi, good evening. Does medal engraving has a fee or is free?
Is there a fee for medal engraving?
Is there a fee for medal engraving? I think there is a fee. I'm hearing from my right side of my ear here. There is a fee. Check the website. It's all on the go to the race website, and it'll give you the times and location here and all the details. I don't have it memorized right now.
Oh, one more.
Got it right in the middle back there. I think I don't.
Getting my steps in.
Yeah, my question is about the fueling. You guys were talking, I think you mentioned, about the energy gels. So roughly how many should we take and like at what intervals? I guess in your opinion. I know 2 doesn't sound like enough based on what I've kind of read around, but
I guess hold on to the mic. Have you taken any during your long runs in training?
like 1.
And how long has your longest long run been?
20 miles.
20 miles? How did you feel afterwards?
I like bad. Like they're done.
And what's your social security? No, I'm kidding. He's answering. Might
This
as well
didn't
keep
go the
going.
way you wanted, so I can tell.
Yeah, honestly, I would. I mean, you kind of just answered your question, or at least part of it. You took 1 in a 20 miler, which is a great distance to run as a long run. There's no magic number, but you felt bad. So, you're probably going to glycogen depletion, which is what happens when people lose energy. Like, you don't feel that tired, but you're losing energy. That's kind of what happens when you hit the wall, which is, for most people, usually around 20, 22, 18, 22, which is why that's usually the long run distance. But what I would say is, within reason, it's better to take more than you think you'll need, because I think it was, I'm going to shout out Linda mentioned before that, like, you might drop one sometimes, which happens. You go to open it and you drop it, and the last thing you want to do is stop and pick it up because there's a few people behind you coming through. So it's better to take more than you need. So in your case, I would say I've always taken more than I've used. I've even shared with people next to me, which is ironic because I say nothing new and raise it. I'm like, hey, break the rule. But I would say just maybe try taking 6. It seems like a lot, but they're relatively small, especially if you pick up science and sports, which I believe they will be available at the expo. And the beauty of it is that when I take them, I don't take the entire thing. You know, I'll rip it and I'll take it, you know, like part of it, just enough, swish it around my mouth, and that really helps. And I'll do it, you know, every 30 minutes. So I usually don't go somewhere between 30 and 40. So, you know, obviously not knowing how long you're going to be out there. If you're out there 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 or what have you, adjust accordingly. But I would just say go by minutes and take more than you think you'll need, which in your case is definitely more than the one you took in training.
Hi. So, not being the best like strategist or runner or anything, last year I had the same problem that I went out very early with the 5:30 bus, and then my wave was noon. So by then I'd eaten everything I had, and my first, I think about after about miles 8, like I was willing to eat small children. I mean, anything I could find that was like, you know, not moving and that somebody handed me, I would eat. It was kind of pathetic. I mean, eventually, you know, there was Gatorade, but it was rough. And I think I even managed to miss the gel station. So, you know, so for those of us who aren't good at this, I'll take plenty of gels, but like, how should I time them? When should I like start using them?
I would say, you know, first of all, like the gels I would probably leave till either just before you start or once you start. And before that, if you know you're going to be at the Start Village for a few hours beforehand, like I would try to eat a little bit of like proper solid food, like a bagel with you know, peanut butter or you know, something like a little bit more solid with more substance. Obviously, everybody's stomach is different, and you would have a better idea. But try to bring things that are a little bit more solid, even a banana, you know, toast, things like that. But then once you're about to start, sometimes some people take a gel maybe 30 minutes before they start because you don't get that immediate effect or benefit right then. You get it maybe 20 minutes later. You know, everybody's different. So that's going to help them for that start. And then once you start, like I said earlier, some people do 30 minutes, 35, 40 minutes, but usually somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes because you don't want to go too long. And the thing is, when you're running, you don't think about it too much, especially early on. But if you wait till you feel hungry or you wait till you feel thirsty, it's almost too late because that's like kind of filling up your gas tank when the light comes on E. It's like, yeah, you've already run out of gas. You're just kind of cruising. So I would say, you know, set a schedule and try to stick to it. So 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. And then obviously, as I said, bring more than you think you might need because worst case scenario is you finish the race and you have extra. But again, if you're not able to hit every aid station, as Coach Steve showed, then you know that you're actually carrying your own nutrition and hydration with you.
Yep, this is the last one, and then we'll be here to answer more questions if you need to.
Hi, this is my first marathon, and I have a question about the race bibs. It's going to be colder in the morning, so the bib, I think, has to be... It's my impression the bib is on the outermost layer of clothing. If it's really cold in the morning and we have it on the outside of our jacket, but then it gets warmer, do we move the race bib on and we want to take our jacket off? Do we move the race bib onto our shirt or?
I love this question. It's something we actually didn't cover. So your race bib needs to be on the shirt that you're going to finish the race in. So let's say it is cold out. I'm wearing this awesome shirt that you could buy at the New Balance store after you pick up your bib. This is my shirt I'm saying warm on, but I'm going to finish in this white undershirt. My bib's going to be pinned as white undershirt. As I go through the Start Village, there's going to be partnered with Goodwill Industries, so you can toss this, hopefully not because it's nice and expensive, but you can toss your shirt that you got beforehand, toss that forehand, and then you can run with my bib on the outermost garment of my shirt. And guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah,
thank you. Is this one? We'll do this. First of all, Coach Steve, Coach Roberto, thank you. Can you hang up for just a second?
Yeah, I'll stay.
So I have 3 quick things. One, and you mentioned this, Marathon Monday, Marathon Tuesday right here at the TCS NYC Marathon Pavilion presented by Mastercard. We have metal engraving. We also have the folks from HSS, Hospital for Special Surgery will be here. So recovery, right? You have those pint glasses. You're going to drink water all week. And then you have a little party on Sunday, but then Monday you got to recover a little bit. So come in here. You get some foam rolling, some stretching. They'll have their physical therapists, their experts on hand as well. We have a little raffle. We have 2 more raffles. 2 more raffles.
You guys want to do a raffle again?
Yeah. Oh, also, Steve, something else to think about, too. If you've never done this, it's fantastic. On Friday, 5 p.m., I believe it is the opening ceremonies for the TCS New York City Marathon presented by United Airlines right outside. I'll tell you, it's a great way just to get energized for marathon weekend. Of course, we were asking some questions earlier. All of those events for this week, not only here at the Pavilion, also at the Expo Center, you can find those on NYRR.org as well. So lots of great information. Coach Steve, Coach Roberto, you're going to stick around for a little bit, right? If we have some additional questions, perhaps?
Yes.
And our NYRR PACE group will be in the back of the room.
Yes.
I've kind of put you on the spot. Well, Roberto, I gave you
Pacers,
such an
don't leave.
introduction earlier. You have to stay. Steve, let's draw a number. We have 2 raffles left. Dig deep, my friend. Dig deep.
Who's here first? We'll go for that one.
Come on, I'm getting tired.
I'll let you read it, though.
That's very good on the it's very like Christmas vacation.
You can roll your R's, you know? Yeah.
Well, that's, and you have a name that you can roll an R. I should have done that for your intro.
Yeah.
Roberto. Yes, that's next time. Next time. I'll work on it. Here we go. My goodness, I can't read that. 525-7845. 525-7845. Where we at? Where we at? Come up here. Come closer.
Woo! Come on down. Slowly jog.
Please,
Pace yourself.
Don't trip on anything. Don't hurt yourself.
It's a shakeout run. All right.
Jackie got very excited. Jackie, is this your first TCS New York City Marathon? You did. I see that you have that 50th anniversary shirt. Had I been more observant, I wouldn't have asked you. So this will be your second. And you'll be running next year. All right. Look at this guy. Runs 1. Well, congratulations. We have a nice little goodie bag for you. Be careful on the step down. We want you running for many, many years to come. So 35 is the goal. We got to be at 35. We have one more. Coach Roberto.
It's all you. I don't know. Let's get to that all night now.
All right. Are you reading it or am I?
Who has better vision at this point?
Oh, actually, I think I need another one. This one's ripped off.
Oh.
Wow.
No, it's at the bottom. Oh, no, we're missing part of it.
Yeah, we're missing part of it. Ay.
How many guys
No,
does it
no,
take
it's
to
true.
get
It's true.
Yeah, I know, I'm sure.
It's true.
I'm
It would have been. It was not all the numbers we needed. All right. What do we
this
got?
one's better. 525-7880.
525-7880.
Yeah. 525-7880.
Hey, you got to be in it to win it, right?
It's me.
What? No?
No?
All right.
Pick another one. All right.
All right, Roberto.
Wait.
What?
Someone said shake it.
Shake it. Oh, I thought I said he won.
Like a Polaroid picture. Shake it.
Whoa.
Oh, that should be the one right there. Hold on.
This is about to get really
we obviously rehearsed this part.
Yeah.
We're doing really well. 525-7670. 525. Somebody squealed. I don't know what that was.
Oh, wait, we got
that is our winner.
Right,
Come
come on down.
Walk slowly. Don't trip. It's a very methodical walk you have going on. Was that you that squealed because you got so excited? What's your name? Sarah, is this your first marathon? Last year. So again, last year was your very first. You're back
also,
again.
can we get Sarah on stage?
Yeah, sure. Come up here. Come up here.
Awesome.
And you got your wings on your shoes.
Sarah, what does your shirt say? Marathon. But did you die? 26.2. It's a historical
Obviously,
joke.
Sarah, yeah, you didn't die. You're back again. You're going to be back next year. We have a great little bag for you. Thank you so much. Have a great time on Sunday. And for those of you running Sunday, I'll be at Columbus Circle, so mile 25.9, probably sometime around 2 o'clock. So if you're coming through there, swing wide. I will give you all the love in the world, I promise. Back to you. Speaking of love, we talk about all of you, our NYR members. You're the heart and soul of our New York running community, our community here at NYR, along with our volunteers. A lot of you volunteer throughout the year as well. Big shout out, lots of love to our volunteers, our donors, our partners. NYR is more about just the weekly races though, right? It's community. Coach Roberto, Coach Steve, you know this. It's about giving back to the community, the next generation. It's about inspiring folks to move, right? That's the whole idea. So we wanted you to take a quick look at all of the things you all have accomplished with us this year, and we've accomplished together. Take a quick look.
Why do we run? We run to create a healthier, more active New York City. We run to build communities and to inspire runners of all ages and abilities to be active for life. We run to make a lasting impact. We run to champion inclusivity and diversity. We run to help and inspire people through running. We run stronger together. Join us at nyrr.org/impact.
That's all possible because of all of you. So from the bottom of our hearts and on behalf of our entire NYRR family, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Coach Roberto, thank you.
Thank you.
Coach Steve, thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Linda, Elvin, Joe, and Stephanie, who may still be tuning in out in Arizona, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Run strong. Have fun on Sunday.
Thank
and
you.
enjoy your time here. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight.
See you
Cheers.
on Sunday.